So I recently got done watching a video made by the BBC Two, so you know it's well researched, and it's full of a bunch of feminists discussing feminist issues. But what got me the most was the topic of race that kept coming up, and it really annoyed me. So here the video is in its entirety. I'll cut in every so often and give my thoughts and just rave a bit.
I feel eternally grateful for the suffragettes and everything that they did, and I still feel emotional every time I go and vote.
The suffragettes were a terrorist organisation, as I'm sure most of you know. It's a minor topic, but just the idea that a British person in the modern day can look back on terrorism and say, I'm proud of that, just got me a little bit.
They were the first domino that led to a huge effect and a change in society.
There is still a fight to go, and we still have quite a long way to go, and I'm willing to go the long way and hopefully make some change along that.
Yeah, certainly change is a good thing. I mean, you can implement a lot of good changes to help the world in a good way. I don't think there is a long way to go in the Western civilization in terms of feminist goals anyway. There's certainly a ton of men's rights issues that need to be addressed, and some women's rights, though they're minor because women have equality under the law to men. It's more social changes that feminism's concerning itself with. So the idea of equality under the law, sorry, that's already been accomplished. I want to draw attention to the manner of dress that these people are presenting. They're very well-to-do. They're definitely not in the lower and working classes. I mean, even judging by the amount of makeup and the clothing in general, it's just, it represents the upper fringes of society. And you even see somebody later on getting their hair cut by another person at a hair salon, which, if you're working class, you know that you can't always afford things like that. So this would be a luxury for anybody else. It was blurry, but you nearly caught it for a second. There was a picture of a woman wearing a flag as a hijab, which, as a sign of oppression, you know, is a very touchy topic. And the fact that it's inviting the American flag to be a part of it's just a bit... I wouldn't have chosen to put that in my video on something talking about, you know, progressivism, because Islam is the furthest thing you can get from progressivism.
Feminism used to be a dirty word, and now you can wear it on a t-shirt, and it's finally like equality is cool. Popular culture has made it into a new thing, and we are in the fourth wave.
I'm just glad we got out of this third wave alive, lads, to be honest with you. But this fourth wave that's coming, hopefully it'll be a little less vitriolic than the last one, and the misandry that's embedded in feminism will die and shrivel. But I'm not going to hold my breath on that one. I think most of the fourth wave will be media. So it'll be BBC, ITV, Channel 4, that sort of feminism, which I for one welcome, because this last wave was cancerous. And yeah, the media's going to treat them better in this coming wave. They seem to have sorted a lot of their shit out, which is good in my opinion, but a vast majority of university campuses will show otherwise, and that's what's got me worried.
Growing up, politics, it was always seen as like, this isn't for you, you don't know anything about it. It can be a really scary thing to get into until you realise that politics isn't knowing all of the members of parliament, it is your life.
You see, I was told to stay away from politics as well, but for a different reason, because I was considered a fringe group. I was a very central-based person, so my left-wing friends would tell me to stay out of politics, and my right-wing friends would tell me to stay out of politics. Now, if you do what I did and tell him to go fuck himself, then you will quite happily escape that conversation, probably being disliked a little bit more by both sides. But It ended well for me, so it should end well for you too.
I remember my dad and my mum, they once entered a cleaning job in a government official's office. And whenever I hear that story, it's like, is that what Latin Americans have to do?
Hang on. Latin American? You realise you're British, right? Anyway, that's a nitpick. What I'm really sort of annoyed at is this idea that there are jobs specific to race, which just infuriates me. No, that's a racist assessment. If you assess what a job is like for you as a person based around your race, you're probably looking at it wrong. You should be saying, is this a job that intrigues me? Or is there other jobs that intrigue me? How much is it paying? And other important factors.
I want to be the person in that office and make the changes in the world. I came here to Whitehall in Parliament a couple of months ago, and we went to the Foreign Office.
And did you ask for, apply for, or even put your name in for a job there? Because that's how you get your name in the door. You know, you introduce yourself, be it through a phone conversation or even face-to-face. In fact, being face-to-face is great because they get a good idea of what you're like before they even start with the selection process, before they even know you, which is brilliant. But I'm guessing you didn't do that, and you're going to go into some detail about this, because at the moment you're kind of leaving it hanging.
It was very overwhelming. And I didn't find someone in power who looked like me, who was an ethnic minority.
This should not factor into job selection, or you are a bigot. No, just because somebody in that office doesn't look like you doesn't mean they're not doing a good job. In fact, judging by the statistics on the number of Latin Americans in the UK, which is almost zero because, you know, it's Britain, then I'm not surprised, to be honest.
And the people who were there at the time were Latin American cleaners. So for me, it was very hard to see myself in a place of power. I don't necessarily identify with the feminists in mainstream society because it's really hard to see myself in their position and to compare my issues with the issues of a white feminist.
Your inability to put yourself in others' positions state that you lack empathy. Your inability to feel empathy towards people outside your racial group makes you a bigot. Do I have to say more than that? I probably will. I'm probably going to get accused of bigotry myself. Listen, I have no issue against you and people who look like you. I have an issue against people like you and people who think like you.
The woman is still inferior, and I'm still very mad at that. I'm still very angry because we're not equal yet.
Give me one form of equality under the law that women do not possess that men do. Any inequality. Meanwhile, I'll provide you two off the top of my head that men face that women do not. And that would be biased courts and the fact that in British law, men cannot be raped by women because made to envelop is not considered rape. Yeah, it's that screwed.
I was friends with the boy, and I had a crush on him. And I remember him turning to me and saying, you're not my type. I was like, what do you mean? Did I have to be funnier? Did I have to be smarter? And he was like, no, I just don't like black girls.
No, I don't think he said that, did he? Like, it's not likely that somebody will straight up say, I'm not going to date you because you're black. That's not generally what people will say. They'll be a lot nicer when they're broaching this topic because they clearly have an interest in you as a friend, right? Which would be my first point of call to check. And even if he did, you know, sort of prevent a relationship occurring because he didn't want to date a black girl, that's fine. That's his prerogative. And I'm not going to make any judgments on his character based on that. Because people have preferences. Everybody has preferences, you know? Like, you might not date skinny men, right? And most men won't date fat women, for example. And there are lots of different, you know, sort of metrics that go into determining who you want to date. You know, and I don't think it's a fair assessment to call somebody bigoted based on that. But you might be going a different direction with that, so I'm not going to cut you off. I'm going to let you continue that train of thought.
I realised I never wanted any other black girl to go through what I went through. People, when they see feminism, they don't see inclusivity. And I think that's one really important message I think needs to go out there. There are people who look like me, look like my best friend. We're not white, but we still are very heavily involved in the movement and we still care a lot.
Oh God, she didn't even finish that thought. You don't want a black person to go through what you felt. That's fair enough, right? Similar thing happened to me. A Asian girl that I approached didn't want to date me because she doesn't date white people or black people. They only dated Asians. So I was fine with that because everybody has preferences. And you should be too. And to say, I don't want anybody else to go through that just shows how pitiful and low-hanging your problems have to be for them to be considered problems. This doesn't need remedying. Your thought needs remedying. Jesus.
And I remember looking in British films, American films, and not seeing my face anywhere.
I'm empathetic to this, actually. It does suck turning on the TV and not seeing representation. I mean, I turn on the TV all the time, you know, and I look at all these characters. There is no white metalhead dude with really, really long hair that's greasy and smells kind of funny and has a massive dick. But you know what? That's fine. I'm okay with that because I don't want my face to be plastered all over media because I'm not incredibly vain.
And to 13, 14-year-old me, it's crushing because it just shows, it reinforces the message that you don't belong anywhere.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't say that you don't belong anywhere. It's saying that this TV program isn't necessarily meant to reflect your life. You know, it doesn't reflect any of our lives, really. I mean, if you want to see media better reflect your life, make your own media. Then again, that's difficult to do. So I'm kind of a bit more empathetic towards this.
Which is kind of why I thought political activism for me would really be beneficial, because I don't think especially in the political scene, I don't think there's many faces that look like me. I do think it's really important that there has to be a first, and I want to be one of the first.
2 points. First one, you're right, there's not many faces that look like yours in politics, and there doesn't have to be, because at the end of the day, it's the content of what they're saying, what they're speaking about, their heart, their mind, what they put into it. That's what matters in politics, right? It's people's drive, what they're pushing forwards, what policies they want to implement. That's what matters. And second, shoot for it, go for it. Just be good at your job, and I don't care what you are. You could be blue, you know, you could drop dead in 7 years or 2. I don't care, so long as what you're doing is good and you're doing a good job at it, right? If I don't see you in 3 or 4 years in those positions, I'm sorry, maybe you weren't cut out for it, but there are other options available to you, and I wish you the best, honestly.
The modern wave of feminism would just accept people for who they are, regardless of their gender or how they identify. I do think things have moved on a lot. Still, there are battles to be fought. Everything's beginning to tumble, and it's probably the most exciting and most reassuring time to be a woman.
Again, it's more woo. They're not really saying anything of any content here. They're not providing any arguments or giving any examples. They're just sort of vaguely saying the battle's not over. And it's just this sort of language that does my head in because you hear it constantly in the mainstream narratives. Well, that was a bit shit, BBC, to be honest. I was being lectured to by middle-class women who think that they're oppressed by people like me. And it's really unfortunate to see this power politics coalescing with what should be an equal rights movement. They've got equality under the law. At this point, it's just social equality. And even then, most social inequalities these days are faced by men, so it's a bit difficult to take these obviously rich people seriously, talking as if they're being oppressed by some great organisation. It's just kind of a bit shit. You know, they want representation, and they can have it. All they have to do is work hard and get to those positions, but they're not doing that, so it's their own fault, really. Thank you very much for listening. I understand that a few people might have a critique of this video, and that's fine. Please leave it in the comments. I'd love to read them, and honestly, I need a new perspective because being insulated is boring. It's no fun. I'm free to change my opinion on any topic, so long as the right evidence is provided. You can like the video if you liked it, dislike if you disagreed or you didn't like it. I know my editing's a bit crap, but I'm trying to learn as I'm going along, so anyway, take care. See you next time.